So there's a handout going around. All right, how's everybody doing today?
Great.
Doing great. Want to just say thank you for coming to the presentation. I really enjoyed the conference, the meeting, get a chance to interact with so many smart people. So I really enjoyed this, and really appreciate all the hard work that went into putting this together. So my name's Mfon Akpan. I'm full-time faculty at National Louis University here in Chicago. So I knows anybody from Chicago? Okay. Well, National Louis is about a block and a half away from here. So it's right across the street from the Art Institute. So I teach a number of business courses there. My specialty is in accounting. And actually, we'd like to talk to you today about really some tips on becoming a better listener. So listening better. Now, my partner is Cynthia Kivland. She's not here today. So unfortunately, she had the opportunity to go to Hawaii with her husband. So I asked her if we could switch. She said no. So, and she's an amazing person. I had the opportunity to meet her, and she actually was my teacher at the Leoto Institute. So I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Leoto. Everyone knows him as Mr. Jimmy John. So he endowed the Business School at University of Illinois, Chicago. He also founded Jimmy John's Subway franchise with his son. And he started an institute there, dealing with emotional intelligence. So that's how I came to know Cynthia. So she trained me as a moderator. And this is where this whole presentation comes about. So part of the training deals with listening. So learning how to listen. And really one segment of the training, one is best practice, it stuck out. So that's what we'll talk about today. And it really helped me, so I hope it helps you as well. The other thing is, this is going to be an interactive sort of session. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions, so I hope you participate and share as well. So what I'd like to ask you, what is a behavior you've seen when someone's not listening to you? So can you think of a behavior that someone would do if they're not listening?
They look away.
Right. They look away from you, so they're not looking at you. Right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
Say
Someone doing like that, nodding their head?
That's what I would do.
Oh. That was good. Anyone else?
Yeah, you lose focus. You can't do eye-to-eye contact well if you're not listening.
Right. So someone looking away, not paying attention.
Talking to somebody else.
Oh, talking to someone
Like
else.
students in the classroom,
Gotcha. Yes. So they're not paying attention. They're not listening. They're having some side chat. Is that what we call side chatter? Now, can anyone think of a moment this past week where they weren't listened to, where they felt they weren't listened to? Everybody think of anything?
Yeah, I have a toddler, so I'm listening to a lot.
Playing with toys.
Yeah.
And, right. Great.
But I also had a class this week, so I'm certain there are moments that I wasn't being listened to in class.
Yes. I can tell you one. In class, I may have students that have their cell phone, and you're talking, but they're at the same time, they're maybe looking at Instagram or Snapchat or something like that. I can be guilty of that at times too. So, but let me ask you this. In those instances, with someone that weren't looking you in the eye, when your toddler wasn't paying attention, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, you want to stop trying.
Right. You want to stop talking? You want to stop talking? In the back?
Do Devalue.
Devalue.
Frustrated.
Frustrated, good.
Distracted.
Distracted, right.
Frustrated.
Frustrated, so you feel that frustration, so that's good, that's good. So let's move from the bad to the good. So what are some examples of good listening? Characteristics, traits,
Feedback, they respond to what you're saying.
feedback, so they respond to what you're saying, okay, great. Anyone else?
Eye contact.
Eye contact, great. Any other couple?
Well, you're mindful in the moment, so that's the priority you have. It's that person not thinking about what you're gonna say, but what you're hearing.
That's good, so that focus, anyone else?
The opposite of what she said, nodding when they're not listening. There's lots of them nodding when they're listening too.
Right.
I was gonna say, if you say something and one student says, what'd she say? And the other student actually explains back to them what, you just said. So you're like, well, that one student was listening, but they just explained it to someone else.
Oh, see, that's good, so that confirmation, that's great, that's good. Anyone else?
Maybe they're taking notes.
People taking notes, okay, great,
They have thoughtful responses to what you said.
okay. So either responsive, you mean like questions, or like, okay, that's to clarify, great, good. So how does that make you feel? So there's a lot, we've got more good than bad, so I guess that's a good thing, right? How does it make you feel when someone's listening to you?
Valued, respected.
Valued, respected,
I think validated.
validated, okay, great,
I
validated.
feel like I'm making progress, like they're actually, okay, they get this part, so we can move on to the next part, because I'm getting affirmative responses.
Okay, so that good feedback, confirmation. Anyone else? Energized. So you feel energized, that's a good one, that's a great one, that's great.
It also makes you willing to listen in return, to get that feedback going back and forth. So
Okay.
it's contagious. Someone's listening to you, I will listen to you.
That's great, that's a good point, so it kind of comes back, you feed off of each other, that's great. So, what do you think about those facts that are passed out? Anything that stands out on that sheet? Take a second, look at it. Anything, these are listed facts, so anything that stands out. Yes?
We've learned 85% of what we know through listening. I think that stands out, because I would have never thought that at all.
Right? Yes, that's interesting.
I think the talk rate of 125, 175, I'm thinking how social media plays into that. Like, does that influence even more so how much distracted we get, our attention span, and all those things?
Gotcha, okay, that's good, that's interesting. I had read a fact that millennials spend 18 hours a day on media. So it could be TV, social media, like Facebook, internet, Netflix. So I was saying, how is it possible? There's 24 hours in a day. How can you be on media 18 hours a day? Then I found out it's because you can do two things at once. So you could be watching Netflix and then on Facebook and messaging and flipping to Snapchat. So you can be using all of these things at the same time. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. Anyone else? I've got to give a disclaimer. So Cynthia, she's the expert on the chemicals that are associated with listening. So I apologize, she's not here, but she talks about the oxytocin and she really gets into that portion. So, but anything else that stands out?
25% coverage.
Okay.
I guess I was surprised that 7 out of every 10 minutes we're communicating with another human.
It's interesting. Anything else? Any other thoughts? Have you ever observed any of these facts at home, at work?
about scholars. Right?
We might be the exception though, but.
Well, then-
Rank and file.
So maybe is this describing some, you know, maybe on a typical work day, 85% of what I learn might be listening, but I wouldn't say, go as far as to say 80% of what we know. We learn through listening, like I said before.
Fair enough. But right now, how are we communicating? How are we learning?
Well, that's too much trouble.
Oh, you know, I'm gonna trip over this thing in a second. But fair enough. That was a good point. That was a good point.
Yeah.
Here's some facts and benefits about listening. So, and we've heard these from you. So when we talk about the teacher, students, they feel validated. Students emulate we talked about that, they emulate the teacher's behavior. We talked about social learning, so we hear a lot about active learning, social learning. This is from the teacher. Students, they're seen and heard, increases learner engagement, higher self-esteem. Does any of this kind of seem familiar? Has anybody heard of this? Does this kind of resonate a little bit? Okay. Does anybody think of anything else? So really what it comes down to is three things. And this is every time I go into the classroom, every time I'm somewhere speaking, engaging with people, I think about these three things. Stop, look, and listen. So stop, and it goes back to what we were talking about before. Stop everything that you're doing. Focus on the person. Focus on the person. So make it more about them and less about you. Look, this goes back to the whole eye contact. I think I heard that. So the whole point about the eye contact, giving the focus, and try to link up and connect with that person. And the last one is the listen. So this is the opposite of I think we mentioned the head nod. This is to give that affirmation, that confirmation that you're actually listening. You're hearing what they say. So stop, look, and listen. This is the best practice. 3 things to think about. And it's helped me. So, and really for me, I had it, this may sound funny, but I had Introduction to Business course Mondays and Wednesdays. So I was introduced to this on a Tuesday. So that Monday before, I had the students giving presentations. So they were giving presentations. One student would come up and stand at a podium in front of the class, give maybe about a 10-minute presentation. Students had a chance to ask that student questions. So on that Monday before this, I was doing what I normally do. So we'd come in class, get everything going. And in the classrooms at this college, they have a desk. On the desk, they have a computer that's connected to the smart board and everything. So when the student is up there giving his presentation, what do you think I'm doing? I'm sitting down at the computer, pulling up things. I'm not even thinking about, I'm there, but I'm not focused on the student. I look at an email. I'm checking things that we're going to do, setting things up for what we're going to do next in the class. But I'm not paying attention to that student. So my aha moment was, I got introduced to this, and I'm thinking about the night before when I was in class. Students, they're giving their presentation, and I don't mean, the other students, they weren't rude. No one was talking out of turn. But I did notice the other students, they're on their cell phones, some writing stuff. They're not really focused on the student. So when I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, wow, it was kind of mixed emotions. I felt bad and good. I felt bad. I'm like, you know what? I'm a horrible listener. but I felt good. I've got something where I can kind of turn this around. So the next night, same thing. So they were giving presentations the whole week. Next night, what I did, and it was simple, but it changed everything for me in that classroom. So what I did when the first student went up to the podium, instead of me going to my desk and checking emails or doing whatever I'm doing while they're presenting, I went, sat down, front and center, while the student was giving the presentation. Just that, for me, that simple act, it changed, the whole room changed. Students were looking like, what is he doing? The guy was up there, and he was a little shocked, a little embarrassed, but I was sitting there, and then I'm nodding, I'm listening to what he's saying, but I look around, left and right, no one's on their cell phones, everyone else is listening, paying attention. The person up there, I could see that they were a little, maybe it was because I wasn't paying attention, I didn't do that for the other students, don't know, but you can tell they were a little excited, got a little energized after the first initial kind of shock of why is he sitting there, but it changed the whole tone of the room. So that was something that I was cognizant of. So that it really helped me, helped the whole classroom management. I see the students are more engaged. And the other thing, as far as this look, I walk around now. So, before I would kind of stay in one place, but if a student's talking, they have a question, I walk around. I try to go to them, listen to them. It makes a big difference. And I think someone said that about, I think you said that, about, you're building that connection. And then, if you're listening, it sets the tone for the classroom, for the other students to listen, But if you're sitting, and this is just my experience, if I'm sitting on the computer doing something else, it's kind of hard to get the other students to kind of not do anything else if you're not really paying attention. And that was a big aha moment for me. So I always try to think of these three things: stop, look, and listen, and put that into practice. So it helped me with my other classes. And I've also gotten feedback from students that felt, wow, he's paying attention to us. You really listen to us. I've taken it a step further, where when I start my courses, I call it administration. So I say, we're going to have some administration. I just ask students, do you have any questions about what we covered last class? Any questions about the homework? Any issues that you may have? So I open it up and give them an opportunity to say something and to be heard. So that was my personal experience. Any questions, thoughts about listening? I'm ready to listen. Thoughts, questions, find that helpful? No? Yes?
Anything else specific on maybe getting, engaging students, encouraging them to listen better?
As far as encouraging them, I think number one, if you're doing it, so lead by example. That's number one. The biggest thing that I've had is success with getting them to speak more and to talk more is I open up the floor. I call it, like I said, that administration. So normally when I start, let's say at the beginning of the semester, I say the first 2 weeks, there might not be any type of participation and you can get discouraged. But I think being consistent by opening it up, giving students the opportunity to actually start talking and you're listening to them, I mean, that speaks wonders. And as you move forward, I guess in the week 4 and 5, it's kind of like you have like, wait a minute, because everybody's talking a little bit, much. One example, I would say it was witness, which helped me, which what do you call it, spread to my other classes. So I teach I was teaching a business, so a financial accounting course. So I was teaching this course face-to-face at one college, face-to-face during the day, the evening, and online, same course. So we offer these, I don't know if you're familiar with Blackboard, you can have quizzes and homework. You can change the display. The way it's, you can either have the questions one at a time, or you can have them all at once. I don't know, has anybody used that feature before? So this may seem like something simple, but I was talking to the students, asking for their feedback. What did you think about the quiz, how it was set up? And one student said, you know what? It would have really helped and made it a lot easier to take the quiz if everything could have just been at once, like we could have seen all of the problems at one time. So, okay, that's simple enough. For me, it's just a click of the button. And I told them that was great feedback because I don't take the quiz. You know, I set it up, but I've never taken it, so I changed the settings. So that was my daytime.